Welcome back, Changemakers. In keeping with the Mechanics as Metaphor series, this week we are talking about stability points, or SP as I am likely to call them throughout this video. Also, it is Pride Month, so we are going to be talking about the LGBT events. We're going to be using them as examples. In light of the Black Lives Matter movement that has been going on now, we are going to put this under an LGBT light and talk about the Stonewall Riots and the gay rights movement. So if you happen to see anything that you're uncomfortable with, if you see a bias that I'm unaware of, that I am not aware that I am presenting, feel free to leave a comment or email us. The email is in the description below. Also, if you're a bit worn out of protests and listening to the Black Lives Matter movement and things like that, feel free to come back to this video later when you have more of the emotional energy to spare. So, let's talk about what are stability points. So, stability points are a gamified measurement of how stable your character is as a whole. Now, at the person scale, so when your character is one individual person, this is easily just a health bar. It's how many punches do you take until you fall down, and that would be the stability point marker. However, when you get to larger narrative scales, player scales, this tends to get a little more nuanced. At the group, the community, the territory, and the nation scales, stability points are more a recognition of how stable the community at large is. So things like the promises that we talked about in our last video, things like who you're allied with and what kind of ethics you have can inform how many stability points you have and when you should take damage for them. If you make a particularly bad decision that doesn't really line up with your ethics code or with your promises, the consequence for that is losing stability points. So let's dive into our example for that. So in today's example, we are showing 3 players here. We have Reese, who is going to be playing as a lesbian woman. We have Purple, who is going to be playing as a gay man. And Lammy, who is going to be playing as a transgender woman. These 3 characters are having a grand old time at the Stonewall Inn. It's the only gay bar in the area that they can go to. So they're having as much fun as they can here. Suddenly, the police raid the inn, and it is up to the players. They must do a check to see how they fare against the police. So are they going to get arrested? Are they just waved off, like there's nothing to wonder about? Or are they going to be checked by the police to make sure they are who they say they are? So no matter what, the characters all need to somehow end up outside of the Stonewall Inn, and then the riot ensues. So the characters will end up having to throw punches, fight dirty, whatever it happened to be, until their stability points enter 0. In which case, those characters dissolve, and the players will be creating slightly adjusted new characters. The Stonewall Riots finished. The players have been spending the last several sessions building up their characters by completing promises, by forming alliances with both NPCs and each other, and just kind of building up their characters until they become full-blown communities. Now, Reese is flying the lesbian flag, getting ready for the gay rights movement and becoming the driving force for lesbians during that time. Purple, with his pride flag, is representing the gay rights movement as a whole, trying to specifically aim towards gay men, but also trying to be as inclusive as he can to other groups. Lammy is representing transgender rights so that she can be shown in a more positive light, so she can be the gender that she wanted to be from the beginning, that she's always known she was. In this scene, Purple has been working hard towards open solicitation, toward making sure that he can fly that flag as freely as he wants, and that others can fly their flags as freely as they want. So he has created the Remembrance Parade, and he has asked Lammy to help out. In this, the two of them, or their whole communities, would do a parade down to City Hall, but dressed like office workers and being as conservative as possible, trying to show the public that they can be just like any other person. They look like just like any other person, and they just need that recognition on their own. They're just like you. They just happen to have a different sexuality, or they're not the gender that they want to be. Technically, both of them will be taking a stability point hit because of that conservative concept. They're actively not being able to fly their flags as freely as they want. They can't truly act like their gender. They have to act in this very restricted, confined way. And that doesn't always show up the best way. So the CM would take some stability point damage from them, some stability points from them for that. On the other hand, Reese, her promises didn't usually line up with the gay rights movement very well. She didn't really care much about open solicitation. She didn't really care about being the gender you always were meant to be. She instead cared a lot more about equality. She cared more about lesbian rights being represented in the same light, at the same value, and all of that, as gay men or as regular men. She wanted equal pay. She wanted things like that. So she found a lot of things in common with the feminism movement and ended up leaning more heavily towards that. Now, because of this, a lot of her promises and a lot of the stuff she needed to go through didn't line up with Lammy very well. So she ended up taking the title of TERF. Now, anytime she interacts with Lammy, she would take stability point damage for that. Now, it is up to Reese whether or not she's going to continue to work with Lammy and continue to take stability point damage, or if she's going to keep that title of TERF with her. Her options are to continue to attack until she runs out of stability points, and then she can finally cut that title out, and she may have to readdress some of her promises to be a little more transgender friendly. Or she can just cut her losses and try and isolate herself and do it as much as she can on her own. Which honestly isn't really how the game is designed, but she can do her best. So obviously, losing stability points isn't always a terrible thing. Because of that nuance, sometimes it's a chance to reinvent yourself, or to see a new worldview, or change directions in how you want to tackle a problem. Oftentimes, when players are handed just a health bar to track how their characters are doing, that can be a bit limiting or detrimental to the story that they might want to tell. This way, in this version, stability points are more resonant with how making change really happens. Sometimes you completely change your entire image, or you change your entire goals in order to reach the same result that you wanted. That can happen. Additionally, this story's often told in the ChangeMaker system can often lead to decision after decision after decision, and at the end of it, the tower just completely falls down, and you're left back at square one. And that can be an engaging, really interesting story, and it can be a decent reward to have that kind of ending to your issues. It doesn't always have to be that the hero defeats the dragon and wins the fight in the end, and wins the battle and the war. You can lose, and it's okay in this system. You don't have to completely give up that character just because you took a few wrong turns. That is all we have for this week. In our next video, we're going to be talking about alliances. Please like us and subscribe to us. We also have links to Twitter and Facebook in the description down below. Feel free to leave a comment. Please stay safe, and we will see you in 2 weeks when we post our next video. Goodbye.